Hey everybody, Go 7, King of the Penguins here, with a game between myself and Sonia the Superior, an old god of Advance Wars by Web. This match was played about 6 months ago with a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed Go 7. I had been playing about 4 months at this point and had been the top Fog player for the last 3 or so. So people wanted to see how well I would hold up against some of the more established top players in the community, or old gods as I call them. This game got put together for such a test. Now, my opponent, Sonia the Superior, has been ranked 1 in Fog himself and has multiple tournament wins under his belt. He's proficient in all of the game modes and is very active on the Discord, where he goes by Master of Math. I would very much encourage anyone looking for advice on their gameplay to join the Discord and go to the strategy channel, where players like Sonia the Superior can help you out. Getting into the match, I'll provide a brief rundown of the map. It is Stalingrad 1v1, and it is one of the classic Fog maps that many people are familiar with in the community. Now, it has 3 key features to take note of because of how they shape the gameplay. Firstly, these comm towers are incredibly contested. They are right by the dividing line that runs diagonally through the map. This right comm tower goes to player 1. This left comm tower goes to player 2. However, these properties right here that are next to the comm towers go to the opposite players. That's just how contested this area is. It's right there. And second, this middle base and the airport are very flexible. This middle base does not have to backtrack. The airport doesn't have to backtrack either to get to either your comm tower or your opponent's comm tower. However, the capture route from this middle base very much leads towards your opponent's comm tower, which also goes right into the third feature, which is where the capture chains are. Now, there's a small one that kind of leads to your own comm tower, as well as a very large one that leads towards your opponent's comm tower. And what this all means is that generally you will start the game out, you'll capture your comm tower, and shortly afterwards a very large attacking force from your opponent will show up at the same time that you're doing a very similar maneuver towards their comm tower. And that's just because everyone was following these capture routes from their double base. So most of their army comes out here, follows their capture route, slams into the comm towers. Very oftentimes they'll just swap, and then the flexibility of the airport in the middle base will show itself as these troops can come and reinforce and take back their comm tower, as your opponent will do the exact same thing, and then the fighting just kind of revolves around this kind of this area until someone ekes out an advantage. Sometimes players will just kind of fight in the middle with very large armies, and that's if they just want to brawl. There isn't much to gain in the middle. There's just these 2 cities, unless lab units were enabled, in which case there'd be a lot to fight over. If that happens, then someone's going to win whenever they get an advantage in the brawl, and they are able to use that advantage to then shift over to either taking the comm tower or going down to one of the HQs. There's also 2 very key corner cities that are very hard they're very contested, but they're also very hard to take back, I guess, from the opponent, because because of these reefs, there's only the 2 sides to hit it on, and you have to stand on shoals when you're attacking the city, which leaves your attacking units very vulnerable because shoals don't have any defense stars. So if you take these cities early and you have a contesting force in the area, you will usually keep them. So my strategy for the match was based off of a combination of the map and the player. The map because of how the armies flow towards the comm towers and all the fighting around them. And then the player because Sonia the Superior is an old god, which tends to mean that he will be very fundamentals focused and will just kind of want to survive the early game so that he can win in the mid game with better tactics and patience, punishing stuff like overextensions to get an overall army value lead and capitalize that by getting an income lead using those forces. That's kind of the classic old god strategy. And I know that Sonia the Superior is incredibly fundamentals focused as he preaches it in the Discord strategy channel. He also does not like artillery and indirects in Fog of War, so I'm expecting very tank heavy play with a follow up of medium tanks because he's Andy. I was expecting, of course, the mid game push with no early aggression because that could fail. And why would you risk that when you're just trying to survive the early game to win in the mid game? So I thought there would be a push coming at my com tower that would about 4 or 5 tanks with an anti-air and a copter kicker starting around turn 10-ish is what I was thinking. And then there would be a single tank on defense just to stop any recon harassment on his one base side. And then in the mid game, his one base side will start producing medium tanks because he's going to be up against two bases, and you've got one base, and a medium tank beats tanks and is very unit count efficient. It's something that I will also be employing because it's a very good strategy. So I was expecting that, and I was expecting no artillery or indirects at all to be deployed by my opponent. And then there's also our CO choices, Andy and Drake, which I find to be very interesting. It's one of my favorite CO matchups, but a lot of people don't like it. I do understand. There's a common stance that Andy counters Drake because Andy's powers do global healing and Drake's do global damage. So that's definitely on the face of it a counter. But really, that just means that it's a counter to the typical approach to Drake's power, where it's kind of fired off on cooldown just to get the free damage on everything. That definitely won't work on Andy. So instead, you got to use it for key engagements that will net you immediate value. And a similar thing for Andy in this matchup. Because sometimes what will happen is that both players will just kind of hold their powers, waiting for the other one to use it so that theirs gets even more value in like a general sense. But really, if you use your power first in such a way that you'll win a very key engagement, then it doesn't matter if their power goes off after it for more general value because they lost the important stuff. So that's the keynote for how to use these two CO's powers in this matchup, is that you've got it's more focused on timing and less on the mass damage or mass healing advantage. So that definitely influenced my strategy, which was to do an early double artillery build, so I could have a push on his comm tower with tank support. And I'm doing that because tanks plus artillery, if you have proper positioning, will beat just plain tanks, and it will also beat medium tanks. And then I build the artilleries first because they're slower, so that the tanks I build up after will kind of catch up to them around this area, the kind of like the gathering point before pushing to take the comm tower. And then on my weak side, I was going to build a single artillery for my vehicle because infantry plus artillery is a very good defensive combination, especially against stronger forces. Because then, like, tanks can come in and hit an infantry, and then your artillery can counter and do a lot of damage to give you a big value advantage in that way. And then I also wanted to get an early transport copter so that I could contest this corner city. Not that I'm expecting to really get this corner city because Andy's army is going to, or Sonia the Superior's army is going to be over here, but I would like the army to be diverted up into this corner instead of down to my comm tower, and that will give me another turn or so, turn or two maybe, to prep my defense. And then if my attack is happening on time and this one's delayed, then I can take this comm tower and then hopefully hold my own comm tower And then having 2 comm towers is a winning advantage. And that was my approach to the game. So we will see how that plays out without further ado. Alrighty, jumping into this. In the top right, we have Sonia the Superior playing as Andy with the black hole function. And in the bottom left, we have our hero, Go7, playing as Drake with Cobalt Ice Country, the best of them all. We are not biased at all on this on Go7's channel. Anyway, starting right up here, we're going to see that there is an immediate, well, not quite immediate, but very early divergence in the capture route between myself and Sonia the Superior, and that is because for my build, I can't actually skip this property to get more in my comm tower area because I need it for the income for the specific turn I want to build my vehicles. And I'm going to be skipping this property to accelerate getting this property, which overall isn't going to be a decrease in funds. But for the specific turn that I want to build my vehicles, it would be a decrease in funds, which I will point out. As you can see, I'll be having this inventory go back to capture this property, while Sonia the Superior does not. Sonia will get it, but he'll get it later, and so he's going to get more of these juicy properties that are a little bit more contested. And there's comm tower, so he's going to go for it in inventory later than I do. And then on the side here, we're going to see that I'm going to go here and set this guy up here, and I'll be double capping these, which will then let me accelerate to get this property. Where Sonia the Superior is going to capture this property right away with this infantry. Excellent. And what this means, and this is a key thing to point out, that Sonia the Superior actually had enough money to build a tank and 2 infantry, but didn't, and that's because he's not going for any early aggression. So if he built a tank right now, all that would happen is it would move out to one of these like defensive positions and just sit there for like a turn or two. So it might as well be an infantry, so you get more on the front lines. And I do a very similar thing where I don't spend my money on a vehicle yet. So you can see Sonia the Superior has an accelerated, has faster capture going on over here by the comm side because he did skip this property, while I had to go for it so that I would have 18,000 instead of 17,000 on this turn. Sonia the Superior also built a tank on this side and an APC. I'm going to pause it right here actually. The APC is something that I did not expect and factor into my strategic plan going into the game. However, it is definitely something I should have suspected because I'm playing as Drake, and as Andy, you usually want to get a lot of like medium tanks because they're hard to kill off, so they're nice and easy to heal. But part of medium tanks is that they have very limited fuel supply. So this APC is going to help deal with my fuel drain from my power, or the fuel drain from my powers. And I should really have expected that. So you might as well get it in the opening, so you can get some boosts to get some of these properties faster. And then he built it this turn because he's going to have this inventory to move into it right away. Probably put in here, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what he does with that, and we'll count how many times he actually gets a boost out of it. Anyway, continuing on with my turn. You can see I'm not going straight forward like this. That's because I'm going to be building a transport copter this turn. Boom. And then double artillery for exactsies on the money. So all of these properties, I'm like, oh, that's what the transport copter is going to help with. So I'm going to send these infantry over towards the center area. so that they're not cannibalizing my captures from my boosts. Oh, and this tank was built just in case I went for an early recon. This tank would thwart it. I did not have to do something like that because I had the read that Sonia the Superior would not do anything that was early aggression like that. Which also makes my double artillery build a lot safer. When you don't have to fight off early stuff, you can do stuff like this much easier than you normally would. So looks like the APC got 1 boost so far. You can see my accelerated capture route letting me get to this city way before Sonia the Superior gets to his. Like, way before. And again, a capture pattern like this doesn't actually end up losing money in the long run because you end up having this turn, this city earlier. So it like makes up for the fact that you didn't have this one. But in the short term, it does. Yeah, and this tank is just being incredibly scared and defensive. We don't know which way. No, this recon. I'll get back to what I was saying before. But this recon right here is being built on the weak side, and it's not going to be able to actually fight off any serious threat. But what it's going to be able to do is going back into what I was just about to say, was that we don't know if we are following if each other are following the like natural flow of the map. We can very easily, because of the flexible bases, send our forces and kind of make this our strong side. Send our forces to our comm tower. So we need to confirm where the other person's army actually is, and that's what this recon is going to be for. It's to spot my incoming aggression without losing anything for it, ideally. I don't have a recon over here, and that's because these incredibly, you'd say greedy, I guess, captures that I'm going to be doing on like these properties. That's my version of the recon. It's going to be, well, when an army comes and stops me or takes my cities, then I know where the army is. And that's going to cost me a lot less money than getting a recon, because I get these infantry anyway. It's going to make my weak side more, like, even weaker. But because I don't have to invest in like this tank and this recon, it makes my strong push that much stronger. And so I'm gonna have a much easier time either making him really bleed to keep this comm tower, or I'm going to be able to take the comm tower just because more stuff beats less stuff. So that was 1 boost from me there. You see, we're going to be moving out for some of these captures, and they're going to be incredibly safe because these artillery can have very nice positions where they both cover each other and these properties. Boosting another boost, that lets me go to there, so he can capture this, he can capture that, and that's going to be my early warning system. I guess that property is not actually being protected, but I don't think he's going to have anything to do. And from here to here, yep, there's another boost. Let's get this. I didn't actually count that one last turn, but that wasn't an actual boost to get this one. You can see that if he goes here, he can still reach there. So that boost doesn't really count. And we can see he's got currently 2 tanks and a recon over here, and I was expecting 4 to 5 tanks and anti-air. Okay, there's the 4 tanks on day 9. It's a little bit behind schedule because this APC was built, so everything can be about a turn delayed. You see, I'm slightly ahead in the capture game right now. getting this corner city so early is going to be very beneficial for me, because there's no way he can take that, and I get to contest this city with my transport copter. I remember doing this, and I was worried that I was going to get trapped, but luckily he didn't do the accelerated capture route. I think that might just be because he's not necessarily used to the map. And I get an anti-air here because as soon as he spots the 2 artillery, I'm expecting him to buy a helicopter. This is a very, very risky capture. Okay, let's pause it right here. So he has seen my 2 captures right here, and these are very aggressive captures, as he will note, because he's player 1 and he's just now starting these, where I'm going to be finishing these. And he has a tank here, and it is in range to interrupt these. Now the reason we're going to see that he's not going to hit any of these infantry over here with this tank, and that's because it doesn't have any backup. This tank cannot reach to back it up. And I'm a top player. He's a top player. He knows this is a classic bait. You can do like really aggressive captures, and then if they use a tank or a recon to interrupt you, then you use your own tank and it can hit from the city, and then another tank can follow up and clear this tank with like no damage taken, basically. It'd be like 1 or 2 damage taken. And that's really bad for your aggressive push to run into that, especially when you can't actually like counterattack. You just end up trading a tank for effectively 5 health on an infantry and like 2 health on a tank. So that's why he's not going to strike this infantry. The lower ratings, they'd probably just strike the infantry, and in that case, they'd be right, because I don't actually have anything protecting these. Like, he's got stuff that's protecting his captures, and I don't. But that's mainly because I want these to get hit so I can see where his army is. So the fact that he doesn't hit these is like the wrong play for the right reason, basically. He's being safe with his tank. He doesn't want to lose it to like interrupt a single capture. There's also the fact that he's going to have his whole army over here. So it's not a huge deal if I get these 2 cities, because he's going to be able to just take them right back, and I'll get like 2 or 3 days of income out of them. But it's not a huge deal when you can just take them and not be down a tank like that. But I was expecting something like this. Maybe this one would get hit is what I was expecting, because it's the furthest away. Maybe this transport copter would get hit. Maybe you can see he saw this and he's gonna like. Well, this he's coming up here to make sure he super wins this corner city, which goes right into my initial game plan of I want stuff to be distracted, trying to stop my aggressive corner city so it's delayed in attacking my comm tower. So that's good that that's working out right now. But at the time in the game, I was so confused as to where his army was, and I even sent him a message on Discord, which I'll show right here. I'm basically like, where's your stuff, man? It was very funny. But that does mean I'm going to be playing a little bit safer over here, because I'm not 100% sure that he's actually got the forces up here. He could be sending all these tanks down here, and then I'd have a much more difficult fight to try and take his comm tower. But in that case, I would be very happy in that these captures are very aggressive. I'm going to get for free in that case. But yeah, these infantry I'm expecting to die. They're my version of this recon. Oh, and he got trapped right here, which isn't something you could see in the replay, just because the replay gets bugged with traps. And this is the only trap that he has in the entire game. It also goes to show that he wasn't expecting that accelerated capture route. You're going to see, you can see here that I attacked this infantry with just my infantry, and I didn't use like a tank or anything to follow that up. And that's because I don't know where his army is. So it's the exact same reason that his tank didn't hit my infantry. I'm not going to hit his infantry with my tank. I don't know where his stuff is, and I don't want to just lose my tank like that. I'm fine with having my infantry here, and then I can bait a tank strike. Or in this case, a recon strike. So he now sees 1 tank and 2 artillery, which should alert him to the fact that I'm going to have very little or anything at all up here. And he can just dive right on in. But again, he's like, this is bad. He knows I don't have much of anything in this area up here because I mean he sees this. This is a pretty good forest, pretty sizable forest. I've got a forest here I could have stuff in. In general terms, it's good to keep your units together like this because the worst that can happen is you run into a force of equal size because you have almost all your funding together in one spot. But when you know that there's a big investment on the other side, you can be really aggressive with these units, and that's what he should have done. Try and like get back on track with attacking this comm tower. They can hit these infantry pretty much for free. Even if I had a tank that, like a single tank that could come and hit them, the other tanks are now here and they can cover that. So the fact that this corner city is working even better than anticipated and delaying this even more will mean that I can set up like a devastating defense of my comm tower. Like time is now on my side, pretty much, for both fronts. Because he's still invested so much up here that he can't, like, this is not going to be able to hold up against me down here. And he sees the double artillery, so I would have expected him to build a battlecopter, but instead he gets this medium tank. And he gets the medium tank on the top, which I guess is just because he sees that I have stuff here, so he's like, I'm just going to have a really crushing attack up here. That, like, all of this plus a medium tank, there's no way I can be held off kind of idea. But, like, I've been shown to use artillery, and artillery are really good against medium tanks. And there's also an immediate threat on this comm tower. Like, you can see I have at least 1 infantry that can capture it next turn, if I wanted to. So he should really be building, like, I guess a battlecopter or a double tank or something like that. Something that can actually fight me off down here. Otherwise, he's going to lose this comm tower, and building this medium tank is not going to help him at all. Especially up there. So he blocks the comm tower, and I'm going to make a big mistake on this turn. Down here. So I use them, like, this is fine, using my artillery and tank to kill off that recon. I could have done double tank and have this artillery in a better position. That would also be fine. You can see this recon still sitting here. And that's because it got trapped. I tried to send it into this forest to kill this 6 health infantry, which is, of course, a really bad idea because I got trapped. I'm sitting right here, very vulnerable. But this is very just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Go 7, getting units trapped, key units. It's really bad. And going for the 6 health infantry, I know why I would do it, because it's a clean kill for the recon, and I'm against Andy, so I want clean kills. But it's not even the correct unit for me to strike at. I should be going for this infantry on the comm tower, because I can do recon plus infantry to kill it, guaranteed. And then I have an artillery right here, covering this recon and covering the comm tower. So if something comes like a tank that wants to actually hurt this recon, it's going to die. Because I'll have this artillery strike and I have the back tank. So this would have been a way better play if I recon here, hit this, and this infantry comes over and smacks this. It also gives me more presence on the comm tower area, more infantry around that can be part of a wall. This guy can always capture it next turn, and he's on a city, so he's really difficult to injure. and it puts just a lot of pressure. So since part of my goal is to like bleed him dry, trying to defend this comm tower, this would be a lot better. It puts a lot of pressure, makes him have to act like immediately. Plus, it doesn't risk going into a forest and getting your recon trapped, which is really bad. I'm not going to lose the recon. I've got so much stuff around, but it does cost me an infantry kill. And then up here, I'm just trying to be as annoying as possible. I'm going to send... Let's see. Yeah. See, I'm killing off the infantry. I'm going to focus on... A big part of this push is going to be trying to kill off every single infantry, so that I know that I'm going to eventually get overrun over here. But if I manage to kill all the infantry off, then it doesn't matter if I get overrun, because there's nothing that can take everything back. And this infantry went in, even though it's going to die, because it can't actually get away. The army is going to be moving down to try and hit my comm tower, so the more stuff that I can keep up here longer, the better. And also, if I can damage these infantry, like this is the only infantry that's in range to actually capture this city. So the more of these infantry that I can damage, the slower everything will progress for him. And it's also just really, really annoying, which is good for me. My artillery's in place. Notice it covers the comm tower, so if something really cheeky happened and he went for this like early, I could easily stop it. And you can see that I'm building battle copters. I'm building tanks. I think I'll end up getting a medium tank as well eventually. I think I'll probably get a recon this turn here, because a recon will be able to stop an infantry from capping this comm tower with my power. I'll be able to put the infantry below 5 health, and that means he won't be able to super to take my comm tower. But I'm building these battle copters for 2 reasons. One, I'm Drake, so I'm not expecting him to have very much anti-air. I guess for 3 reasons. 2, I'm seeing a lot of ground forces up here. I think I saw another tank. Maybe not. I might just have a sense that there's... well, I am expecting 4 or 5 tanks. And thirdly, even though Drake has weakened battlecopters, on plains and below, battlecopter plus tank still kills a tank. And on forests and on cities, if I'm using my powers, I can still do the exact same trades. So they're still going to be very effective. And it also increases my unit count, which I'm going to need to fight off his strong force. Even though it's being delayed in its strike, it's going to be really balled up. So I need to have a lot of stuff around to fight it. Here I am just being really, really annoying. Getting my infantry in place. I could probably have done a little more aggressive. I just want to get in range of taking these captures, basically. My main goal is this comm tower, but all of the properties around here are also like a side goal that I would very much like to achieve. And you can see that I'm in range to start capturing 3 of them next turn, as well as the comm tower. And we can see here that Sonia the Superior has started to retreat and like form up. This is very much an old god strategy. If you play against, at least back when I was playing this, if you were playing against older or more veteran players, they would love to do this. They would retreat, they would form up so that if you come after them, you're overextending, and then they can like get a favorable engagement and punish you for that. And over here, now that he's seen that I've got so much stuff over here, and now he's really like, oh, I can just go and take this comm tower. I'll come down here and beat up these infantry that are just trying to stop my infantry from getting to the comm tower. That's all they're doing. And I'll bring all these forces and come crashing down on this, kind of like what I'm doing again. So down he comes. Yeah, he's sitting on my city. He doesn't care that I can see it. Nope. Let's quickly fix this. There we go. What did I miss here? Okay, yeah, he's just coming. He's just putting these infantry in range to start capturing these cities. He wants to capture this one. He wants to capture this one. He wants to capture this one. And he wants to capture this comm tower. So So he's got everything in line to do that, and then he's also got these forces in kind of concave-ish to get ready to wall in front of the comm tower so that I won't be able to interrupt it. And here comes the medium tank. That's just going to try and be like the ace in the hole or something. It's like the worst possible unit to send towards me when I'm building battlecopters, but not the worst possible. But it's not good. And then over here, yeah, he's just retreating and forming up his own defenses. But notice he's forming up his defenses like way back here, not by the comm tower. So this comm tower is basically free. There's nothing, he doesn't have an artillery, so he can't strike from behind his wall to stop me from taking this. And now he builds the medium tank. Probably should have built, if you were going to build one last turn, you probably should have built it down here too. It's not going to matter. Either way, it wouldn't get to this comm tower in time to stop me. And you can see I moved. I'm of course starting all those infantry caps that I was talking about last turn that I wanted to start. I also put my transport copter on this city, and that's because I didn't think he would be able to survive trying to run away, because he wants to have his units moving down towards my comm tower anyway, so I might as well like pick off my transport copter while doing that. But also, I know that he doesn't have anything that isn't a vehicle because of all my engagements up here that can both kill this off and then still have an infantry available to start capping the cities that he wants to capture because of how much I injured this infantry. So he either has to invest a vehicle away from going after my comm tower to finish off a transport copter, or he has to wait another turn on capturing this city to finish this off. So it's pretty good value and is also really annoying. You can see this recon is now in range to interrupt this. I get my own medium tank. I get another battlecopter. Okay, and then why did I fire on this infantry, revealing that I have an artillery in the woods here? There's like a multitude of reasons. Firstly, I killed off an infantry. That's great. Second, I'm going to have a wall set up over here to take his comm tower. And part of that wall is going to be artillery. So he's going to want to hit that wall because it looks like great value, which is going to build my power charge. So I don't need this artillery to be secretly guarding this comm tower, because with my power up and his comm tower, I'll very easily be able to break through and interrupt here. But what's really nice about this is that now he knows there's an artillery here, and he has to deal with it if he wants to get my comm tower. And the only way to deal with this artillery, because I killed the only infantry in movement range of it, is he's going to have to invest a vehicle to reveal it, and then 2 more vehicles to kill it. And that means he won't have enough around to build a proper wall. And the units that are surrounding this forest are very vulnerable because all of their sides are open. So I can have my units that just like were just produced. They threaten anything around this. So this is like forcing him to overextend to kill this artillery, and that's the main reason that I'm doing it. Is I want him to overextend to kill this artillery, and then I can punish that, and then I'm allowed to do that because I know I'm going to be able to contest this because of the power generation I'm going to get from him hitting my wall over here, and the fact that I'll have 2 comm towers. So this recon's going to be what's going. The recon's plan is to be the one to bring the infantry below 5 health. You'll see that like this with this battlecopter, I'm going to make sure I place it far enough back that he won't be able to see that I've like the trap I've set basically until he has a tank here, and then that tank will have vision. But by then he's in too deep basically. And you can see here comes I'm forming the wall. And then right here I have a choice. I could, if I wanted to, put this artillery kind of like behind the wall to make the wall even harder to attack, but that's not a good idea because I want him to hit my wall so I have enough charge for my power. And 2, I want to capture this city. So I'm going to put this tank here to block for it with this infantry, or with this infantry right here. And that way he can't stop me from taking this city. And then I can just put this artillery right here. Just make it part of the wall. It's not something that he can clear in one shot. And it's not a big deal if an artillery gets hit by a tank because it can still set up kills. Weakened artilleries are a lot stronger than weakened tanks. So I'm not scared at all that if he hits my artillery, as long as he doesn't kill them. So there we go. Make sure to have my own mini wall to make it so it's harder to get the 3 units like this, because that's kind of forming a wall around the comm tower. I really want the units to be looking like this. See, he had to invest the infantry up there. Comes in, it's my poor infantry. He knows there's an artillery here. Clear that off. Bringing in the APC. You can see the wall he's forming here. There's a big difference between my wall and his wall. And that's that my wall's in front of the comm tower, so he can't interrupt this. His wall includes the comm tower. His wall is just there to make sure things don't get killed. That might be because he's anticipating that I can bring this down to 5 and nothing lower, so that he'll be able to super and then get my comm tower. That might be what he's thinking. Oh, reveals the artillery with the anti-air, and then there's the super vulnerable position. And notice now he can see the copter, but it would be too late now even if he had a plan. He's already had to use everything. And you can see just how vulnerable these units are. Like this has all 4 sides. This has all 4 sides. This is 2 sides, but it's an anti-air and I have tanks. And then once this is down, then this will have 3 sides open. It's going to be very, very bloody. And it's going to prove to be impossible to resist hitting this wall, as we'll see shortly. He's backing up. Boom. And poor recon, which will let him come in and hit this artillery, and he'll hit this artillery. But look, now these units, they're very easy for me to kill off. They're in even weakened artillery range with tank support. So it's going to prove to be very cost effective for me. And we can see that I almost have enough charge for my normal power. So when you're in a situation like this, and as you'll see in this, I'm going to be going for the engagements. You can either like sacrifice a unit to get your power right away, or you can look for the engagements that it doesn't matter if you use your power or not, they're still going to go in your favor, and then you'll do as many of those as possible so you can even build more charge than is required to get your power off. And then you'll use your power and then do all the engagements that require the power. Boom. Finish my captures, make sure I get his comm tower right away. So that's like the shot, it doesn't matter if the power's up. That's not going to matter. The copter plus tank still kills a tank regardless. And now I'll use my power. And I'm going to just kill everything off. Very key. Below 5. I'm going to be doing a lot of damage. He's going to have his super. So if this wasn't below 5, this could have been a much different outcome. But because it's below 5, he can't use the super and finish off the comm tower, which is very good. And you can see that like my copter can reach this tank. These units were kind of put in the middle, and that's something I was able to afford to do because I know he's going to have to overextend for this artillery, so I can choose which front I want to send these at. And this also puts him in a really awkward situation where it's going to seem like I have huge armies on both fronts because I can kind of have like units in the middle. So these units that he would anticipate to be over here to put up a stronger fight, I can then send them, as I will, over here on this front. and it'll make it look like I outnumbered him on both sides. And there's a great comment on the Discord that I'll show right now where he was basically like, it's like you're cheating. You have so many units. But that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of like, because he has to overextend here, I get to have more units involved than I normally would, and so it looks like I have more than I should, basically. And that's something I do a lot. It's very effective. That and just being like aggressive on both sides, so it's hard to tell where my actual army is. You can take moves up. When I do moves like this, where it's just moving the unit when there's like very active things to do, that's because I'm just thinking. I'm just thinking about how I want to go about the engagement. So while I'm doing that, I might as well just do these side moves. I think this was a roll as to whether or not this would kill, but it was like very much in my favor. So I think I was thinking about that at the time. So I'm going to be killing off a lot of units. I'm against. Look at how nice that is. I'm against Andy, so I want full kill so he doesn't have anything to heal. Very sadly, that's not going to be full kill, but there's no way that would be. And then secondly, over here, now that I have this comm tower and I have like these properties, my new goal is to kill every single infantry I can see in this area, and I'll just throw stuff at him. So he uses his normal power here. And I didn't talk about this before, but because I used my normal power, everything took a damage. Which means these properties were technically, these captures were technically interrupted. So he has to use his normal power, otherwise he might not even get these. I might be able to kill off these infantry next turn. So he has to use power. And if we're looking at this fight down here, we can actually just switch it to his vision only. Oh, yeah. So he definitely sees that he has lost this fight. I have 2 copters in range that he can see. Yeah. 2 copters that have already been in the fight. I killed off his anti-air. I have multiple tanks. I've got these recons. This is all going to die if he supers and tries to fight. The super will give this enough movement to hit this tank, but then he doesn't have anything to cover it from these 2 copters that will just swarm him and I can trap him. So using his super will not help him in this fight. And similarly, he can already reach everything over here that was in like that extra movement. So his super won't really help him in this fight. So he has to use a power so that he can actually get these captures. He'd really like to not use a power. He'd love to be able to save up the super so that he can get his own very valuable engagement on me, but I forced him to use his normal power for these captures, basically, is what happened. And then he kind of has to just run away from here, and then he's gonna win over here eventually. Like, he's got this the reinforcement advantage, and I had to use my reinforcements diverted to this side to win over here. So I know he's going to win over here on his comm tower side eventually. I'm just going to make sure that I kill off every infantry I can find, so it doesn't matter that he wins that fight. He won't be able to capture his comm tower, and then during that time, I'm going to be pushing very aggressively up here, so then he'll have to send the army that was fighting here up here to stop me from taking his HQ, and then I can send in a secondary force to stop him from taking his comm tower back. So he's just never going to be able to get this comm tower in this kind of situation. Anyway. Ooh, beating up my poor tank. He's clearing the way to kill off my artillery because he knows that they are very valuable in these fights. Yeah, and his medium tank just kills a 7 health tank and then he's running away. This is, of course, old god strategy. Yeah, arguably, you don't want to run away with some of these units because I'll be able to chase them down really easily, and I'd be chasing them in the direction I want to chase them. So he could do a similar thing where he forces me to finish them off, so that I'm slower in my push. And that like debatably, depending on where they get to. Like this guy's pretty safe. He's got a medium tank protecting him, and the copter. One copter be able to reach him, but he's okay with that because he can heal off like a single copter hits. When two or more get to your medium tank is when they're really starting to feel it. Like that's a really bad retreat. I don't know what this retreat was, but he's sitting on road. He was here, right? So he could have run up to like this city, which would have been really, really safe, and then gone backwards this way. I guess he's trying to bait me into range of his medium tank, but his medium tank can't take on this force, so that's just a bad play. But he will be able to save this guy. Yeah, see, that's a good retreat. Double anti-air. So he must think that I'm going to have copters coming in down here. Otherwise, he just double anti-air up here. And you'll note that I see this tank. I'm like, I don't care that there's a medium tank here. I've got my own medium tank, 2 medium tanks coming over here, and I have multiple battle copters, and I just killed your anti-air 9 Drake, so you probably don't have anything yet to actually fight off my copters. So I can stand right in front of your medium tank, and I don't care. I'll kill off your units so that you can't get favorable brawls. Especially because I have both gun towers, so his stuff is currently weaker. Bam. Sadly took chip damage, but that's expected to happen eventually. And I'm moving forward. I'm making sure that I'm putting this battlecopter in range that you can see it, to make him show his cards as to whether or not he's going to stick around with this medium tank. Because if he sticks around, then I'm going to assume that he has anti-air capability of some sort protecting it, because I have 2 battlecopters here, and that's really dangerous for him. So if he sticks around and hits my tank with the medium tank, I'm going to expect to hit a copter or an anti-air that's going to be able to protect it. And then down here, you saw that I was just going for the clean kills to finish off a tank, finish off infantry, and I'm good. Nothing over here. I'm sending them all in to die. Very, very brutal. But it's very important that I make sure all of the infantry around my opponent's infantry are killed off, so he can't actually take back anything. And you can see that there's some basic tactics stuff that was going on. Like I hit with the battlecopter first, and then the tank. That's a 2-hit KO. And then because battlecopters take so little from tanks, you're going to want to hit with those guys first. And then down here, you also saw a 2-hit KO with 2 tanks on the tank. And I made sure to have the tank that took the retaliation damage to be the one that's not part of the wall. When you've got units on the wall, you want them to be as healthy as possible, so it's not easy for it to be like pierced through, because I want to keep this artillery alive for next turn to finish off whatever hits this tank. And then up here, you can see I'm going to get very aggressive with my vehicles, because I know one of the very common strategies when you're losing a side that has a bunch of infantry and there's all these forests around, you just have all your infantry around the forests, so that they're like you have to invest 2 units basically to root them out, and if they don't get rooted out, then they can interrupt the captures. So you'll see that I'll be very aggressive in killing out these infantry. Plus, I know that he can't have anything up here, because I fought off his force, and then I know he has to invest pretty much all of his reinforcements coming down here to try and take his comm tower back and win this fight. So I can basically do whatever I want up here, and I will. Note that this infantry, I can see it. It's in like a recon range, other infantry around, so I'll go for it. I will, because it's a full health infantry. It's near the comm tower. I'll invest a lot to try and kill this infantry if I have to. And note that this plus this will be able to kill this tank. which will be just nice value for me. This attack has already done what it's supposed to do, so anything, any of this extra value kind of stuff, like I would not have done that. He needs to keep at least like one infantry over here that's healthy. Like this one is going to heal up. It'll take a while before it gets to the con tower. If he moves forward with these infantry, I'm just going to hunt them down and kill. I'm gonna target them down. I'm gonna ignore the vehicles and take out all the infantry. Classic strategy. And you can see that he did sit here and hit me with his tank, and he ran away with the light tank to help this fight. Because it probably to him, it feels like it's something that he should have won a while ago. So I must have like more stuff coming, so he should invest more to make sure he wins it. Just that to make sure he wins it. He doesn't need to though. But also it's like having the tank stay up here does not really help him because he knows he can't fight the force. But yeah, because this medium tank hit this tank, I know that, or at least he could be bluffing me, but I'm pretty sure he has some sort of anti-air capability. In this case, he did have a copter covering him, and then this anti-air would cover if I hit him. He also refueled this medium tank, which is important. Like this one down here, only has 14 fuel left. That's very risky. It should, if he doesn't get this on a city, by the time I get my next power off, it's very possible that it can be stuck in a situation where it's just stuck somewhere on the plains, probably, and waiting for an APC to come in and fuel it. So he's moving his infantry down because he knows he needs something to be able to take these captures back. Even if he wins the fight, it doesn't matter if he can't take the properties back. Yeah, I dive right in. I know there's all these tanks here. I don't care. I wanna kill off that infantry. And I go for my captures right here. And because I took this city earlier, I've been actually ahead this whole time in income, which is very nice. And then I can take, even though he has a medium tank just staring at this, there's like no way that he would ever actually interrupt this with his medium tank, because I would have had a whole turn to set up a way of killing this. And I've shown that I'll use artillery, so there's also that possibility. And indeed, I do have a way of killing it. I have 2 medium tanks coming to fight it if he goes for this capture. So I'm expecting him to retreat with this. And then yeah, this guy's not going over here to fight reinforcements that'll probably have anti-air capabilities. He's coming up here to root out all the infantry. Check the forest. Make sure I'm going to check this forest. What do? I move like this through the city so that if there's an infantry here that traps me, I'm on a city and I can't be one-shot by a tank. If I'm on the plains, well, he doesn't have a comm tower, so he wouldn't be able to one-shot me, but he'd be able to two-shot me with like tank plus infantry kind of a thing. And then down here, yeah, he's gonna start. No, I killed off this tank. So it's just another. I think overall I trade evenly with his army down here, even though he has all the reinforcement advantages and outnumbers me in the end. I think this tank actually gets away, so I trade favorably. Plus, I get a comm tower and all these properties. And then I'm like, I need more vision for my incoming army coming over here, so I want a recon, and I think this recon's going to die, so I built this recon. Or I think it's very possible that this recon can die, because he's a medium tank right now. Yeah, this tank gets away. Not sure what's up with that. So I guess that was, he just knew that I had a copter there, and he wanted to get vision of it. He could have used this infantry. It'd probably been a lot better if this APC had moved this infantry down towards here so he could take his comm tower back. Yeah, but he might also just be scared of the fact that I am literally knocking on his HQ. So it's not like a terrible play. but I would definitely want, if I was him, I'd want to be sending this down here, having these units finish up as much as they can, and then come save my HQ. Like, if I'm looking at my reinforcements, I just have a bunch of infantry right now. That's not going to be enough to save my HQ. You gotta do something. A recon lives. Look at that. A recon living a hit from a medium tank. That's just because he doesn't have the comm tower. Now he's finished off these units. Okay, so now that he's finished off the vehicle, he might not know that he's killed off all the vehicles. But now that he's killed off like the main force, he should really start sending this stuff up here, especially the anti-air. Like, he's going to be able to fight off these infantry pretty easily with just like the reinforcements that are coming out. So those units that are already out here should really be moving over here to save his HQ and all the properties around it. Because now he's going to be investing like a ton of money to kill off just a few infantry, which is another win for me, because that gives me even more free reign over here, and I will gladly aggressively capture all of these properties to further increase my income advantage. And he's not really protecting his infantry anymore, because I've killed off all of the frontline infantry that I can get to. So these are mostly harmless. I mean, they would start captures, but he'd be able to interrupt them very easily. With like these 2 tanks over here, and he's producing everything. So he should really be sending units to reinforce his HQ side. But I guess he wants to make sure that he's able to safely get his comm tower back, and there's like an idea that when you're ahead, you don't want to fight because it gives your opponent a window of opportunity. Like, they could win the fights more effectively and therefore get back into the game. So he in his eyes, he wants me to keep fighting him. Maybe that's what this is about. And he's like fighting my infantry, so he thinks I'll throw stuff in, and then he can clean it up and get his advantage back in the game, or get back in the game. But no, I was fine fighting here with the units that had already been invested, because I thought if I ran, he'd be able to reinforce here fast enough to maybe stop me from getting some of these properties. And also, I want to keep his vehicles preoccupied long enough so I could kill off all the infantry. So I understand the mentality. He talked about it before, and like, if you're winning, you can just like continue to build up to get an even bigger and bigger advantage, so you'll really win the fights. But in this case, I'm going to keep fighting up here to clear him out, and then get even more a bigger income advantage, and pretty much win the game that way. And then down here, it was basically a distraction. So I could kill off the infantry and then also get these really nice properties, because I'm not going to really win any of these properties left. They're too safe. That are on his comm tower side. So yeah, he's investing a lot of his money in his forces, and he's behind in forces. So it's, oh my god, look at that. He does get the finish off with the infantry, but medium tank against recon on road not getting the kill, that's 0 comm tower for you. That sucks. So he sent the battlecopter here, but we can also see that this medium tank is now at 11 fuel. So that's also another reason the APC should have come down. Now I'm really, really ahead. I have a 6k advantage. And I both have a 6k advantage, and I'm starting more captures, and I have units in place to clear out anything that was defending these captures. So he pretty much has no way of actually stopping me. And now I have my force coming in to contest his capture of the comm tower. It even comes with some nice infantry, which is very key, because, and yeah, I'll start attacking. I think I might actually kill this, but I didn't talk about this earlier, but infantry are important throughout the entire game. Part of why I'm killing off these infantry is because you need them to capture the property so you can actually benefit from winning the fights. But they also are very beneficial in that they can initiate engagements, such as like you capture a city, and then if they don't have any infantry around to stop you, they have to invest a vehicle, and then they have to. That means they're overextending their vehicle to hit your infantry, and then your vehicles, which are safely out of striking range, are now in range of that vehicle that had to hit your infantry. So it's very important that when you're sending an army to contest something, you always want to have some infantry around. Even if you're not initiating stuff, even if you're not capturing stuff, they can also just get in the way because they're dirt cheap and relatively difficult to one-shot. It takes an anti-air or a medium tank to one-shot them when you've got a comm tower. And he doesn't even have a comm tower, so he has a really hard time one-shotting them. I don't know if you guys can hear that. The dog's going off. Anyway. My 1 health recon gets to stay around and provide vision. And yeah, two comm towers. Copter, medium tank. Kills the medium tank on the city. And that's really bad for him because he's so far behind in income that huge losses like that. And I was so happy when I got on this mountain and I saw that the closest infantry to this comm tower was an 8 health infantry this one. Because, it is going to get to 10 health next turn. It's 3 turns away from the comm tower unless he uses his super. So, that gives me plenty of time to set up my countermeasures. Which is good. And you're going to see something that's really weird that I don't understand. These infantry have 1 health. They're completely not a threat. But he's going to invest multiple vehicles to finish them off, which again is just going to weaken him up here so I can have more favorable engagements. But maybe he's like, I need to keep something around this comm tower so that I can take it easily, so I might as well send these guys down here. But it also shows me where his army is in the area, and this city is somewhat vulnerable, so it does kind of give me another opportunity to get an even larger income lead. And he's spamming battlecopters because he needs the unit count. And he was having trouble with those 2 battlecopters, so he's got double anti-air and then a bunch of copters as well to fight them off. I don't know if he's seen my anti-air, so he might think I just don't have one and I was just relying on my battlecopters. But look at all this investment. Imagine if you were... Oh, did this penguin move? Oh my gosh. Imagine if you were this one penguin and you I got away from that brutal, bloody battle. And then you're just sitting in the plains, relaxing, and then 20 tanks come rolling down just to finish you off. That would be horrible. Poor Fred. But I will note that all of my penguin forces, they never actually die. When you see that little explosion, that's them throwing down a flash bomb, and then they swim home and sit on the couch and cheer on their brethren. All of these guys have been with me since the very beginning. I use the same troops in every battle. Anyway. Okay, that was... I think he might not be have been checking the fuel on this medium tank, because it has 6 fuel. So, and I've got my super. So if I go off next turn and use it, it will only have 3 fuel, or maybe 2, right? Because it'll go down to 3 and it'll start the turn, and that will drain a fuel. Luckily, he's 2 squares away from this city, but that means that's all this medium tank can do. And that's a big part of his army up here. It's pretty much his only non-copter anti-tank force, so it just has to go down here, even though it gets a movement boost from the super and everything. And then again, things like these tanks being all the way over here, if I use my super, they can't even reach his comm tower because of being slowed over the plains. So this is just really bad to go after this 1 health. with two full tanks invested, because even though he'll be able to heal up like my super damage, because of the rain, he's not going to be able to actually use these tanks. Like this anti-air, if it wants to go to the left, it has to go through so many planes that I can do whatever I want with my copters in this area. Anyway, just don't do this. Don't overinvest to kill stuff. But he has a pretty strong force over here. You'll note that my medium tanks, of course, can one-shot the anti-air when I pop my power. Which I don't remember if I do this turn. Oh, I do. Okay, well there it is. Now, I think I use this tank to kill this anti-air, and then I do a really dumb thing where I think I get this tank trapped. So this is the second trap for me in the game. That's a key unit. This turn, one of the most expensive units I have, a medium tank on my super turn. Just very much the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed early Go 7 play right there. That would never happen. I would never risk that nowadays. Oh no, I don't. I use that medium tank to kill that. Definitely should have probably used this tank. Oh no, I want to use this tank over here. That's right. That tank can clear that out. And he's in a really tough spot. All he has like this tank can't even reach my anti-air. So the only thing he has over here that can even hit anything are copters, and I have got anti-air. Like he has to attack into the anti-air with his copters, and that's never a good sign when that kind of thing is happening. And then I've got such a large income advantage right now that I'm going to start building Neo tanks, because I know it's going to be for one, they'll just kill stuff off instantly, which is great against Andy. But two, he can't really afford to build counters to this. He doesn't like to build indirects, so I'm not expecting to get accidentally shot down by well-placed artillery or something like that. He'd have to build like his own Neo tanks or bombers, and that's like almost all of his money. So that's not stuff that he can afford. Well, it is stuff that I can afford, so I'll just keep building Neo tanks. And there we go. He uses his super, and ooh, look at that. It's all healed up. It countered my mass damage. No, it doesn't. For one, I already got some nice engagements, but two, the movement boost is stopping this stuff from actually getting in the fight. So he might as well have just used his normal power, basically. I think it'll help these copters do some damage. But, like, this does have 3. I guess it doesn't drain when at the start of the turn. So even though this shows that it can like come down and kill my anti-air, it can't, because it only has 3 movement because of all the fuel drain and not getting refuel. So it can go to here. It can't even stop this capture. So it can go to this city or it can go to this city. Basically, its only choices. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, even if this wasn't being slowed down by the rain, they wouldn't be able to reach this medium tank. So this APC super should have gone down here for multiple reasons now. Brady's just flapping. He's starting to capture. Use the super to get that extra movement. But notice I have a whole army coming in. I was very much prepared for this. I knew how, at least how I thought the game would flow. It didn't quite flow as I expected, because I thought he would move the army up to defend his HQ, and instead he went and chased like a 1 health infantry. But he did do that with a medium tank and a copter, so I kind of predicted that. This was unpredicted, but it had the same end, in that he didn't just keep units around. Yeah, like they can't get engaged, they can't get even close enough to block off the comm tower. Now all these things can help. This battlecopter's basically invincible because this anti-air can't get there. He has to engage with units that are just going to die from what's already there on the front lines. Like he's not even worried about what the reinforcements might be, because his stuff already dies to what's already there. So the game's pretty much over at this point. I think I get to like a 10k lead, kill off the infantry that's taking the comm tower, finish off a whole bunch of different units, making sure to get the first strikes on the tanks with the copters, like I was saying before, because they take less damage in retaliation, and then finish off those units. And neo-tanks start coming into the battle. Start even more captures. Make sure to finish off the infantry that are around to stop me. Get that corner city back. Finish off all of these vehicles. Very, very basic stuff that when you have an advantage state that you'll want to do. Just like press the advantage. And then because I predicted, of course, when he'd be coming back from his comm tower, and then there he goes, he resigns. Then I have an army there to contest it, and I even have that neo-tank in range. Okay. So this was, of course, a nice victory for me, as I proved myself against one of the old gods of Advanced Wars by Web. And it wasn't a victory that was necessarily like me being a better player with better tactics and outdoing Sonia the Superior in engagements. I did have some sneaky stuff going on, but I also had like really bad plays with getting a medium tank trapped during my super turn, which in other games could be like a game losing kind of thing. Getting my recon trapped early on, and Sonia the Superior only got one thing trapped, I think, and that was just that infantry down here for not expecting me to have that city yet. And so very much fundamental play, making sure you don't get stuff trapped, and then trying to have those winning engagements and those like retreats. That was all stuff I expected, so it was more a victory on the strategic level and the read level. I knew what I was getting into. I had a game plan that I thought would win for various reasons based on the map and the player I was against, and I predicted what the composition of my opponent's army would be, and when it would strike, and how I would a plan to delay that so I would have a way of actually fighting it off. And that's why I won the game. It wasn't, I guess, a better player in the tactics department. It's kind of like prep. It's just a better game plan. But we'll quickly look at these stats here. One CO power, one super CO power. So I did win the game, so you're going to expect to have much better kills to death. But I think it's very important to note just how many infantry died and how it's relatively even. I had 14 die, my opponent had 16 die, and that just really shows how much I was sacrificing mine, because I won the game and I still almost lost as many. How much I was sacrificing them up here early on for the delay tactics and the vision of where the army is, and then how much I was just throwing them away down here to kill off his infantry. Because to be that close when I was just like rooting them out of all these forests and stuff so much means I had to really sacrifice a lot in that engagement, and then the early engagement up here. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this replay commentary. Tried to be a little bit more in depth, and just good luck and have fun out there.